Week 4, VLab 1, or again if you're following in the lab book, lab number 7, we're going to be configuring Linux file system permissions. This is going to be slightly different than Windows, so keep that in mind. I already have my lab document opened. Make sure to download the steps, and when you're ready, click Start the Assessment. Remember, with all of the labs, I'm looking for screenshots and specific questions. Make sure you know where to do your screenshots and know what questions you have to answer. If you need the lab document again, click on the lab assessment download there. When you're ready, let's go and access our VLab. I'm using Chrome, and again, pay attention to the pop-ups. You may receive a pop-up or two with Java. Just tell it to allow. And yeah, these are fairly slow. Normally they take a few minutes to load up, so just keep that in mind as well. Again, you may get a few prompts. Just go ahead and approve the Java ones. Once we have our desktop loaded, we're actually going to go ahead and click on our VMware Server Farm RDP. From there, you'll notice we have a target 01 Ubuntu. We're going to open that up. Our login name is going to be student. Make sure to spell it correctly. Again, tab sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Password, same issue as before. Caps lock ISS316S. Turn off caps lock ECURITY. Caps lock, I know, works every time. If you try doing shift, it doesn't always work. That's why I keep reminding people to use caps lock. Caps lock does always work. Shift may not always work. So just bear that in mind. Our VM for our Ubuntu does take a minute or two to pop up. But once it loads, we're going to go ahead and go to Applications, because we actually want to do a lot of this through the terminal, which is Applications, Accessories, navigate down to Terminal. Once we get to Terminal, you should see that we are logged in as student at that device. We actually want to go ahead and change our directory. Just like Windows, CD, we want to change it to the user folder, except here we're going to type in /USR, that's short for user. Go ahead and hit enter. You'll notice that now we're underneath the user folder. Here we're actually going to make a directory. So what we do is we type in sudo mkdir make directory space the directory name coursework. Go ahead and hit enter. Because we're creating it underneath our student user, we need to be able to supply the password. Caps lock ISS316S. Turn off caps lock ECURITY. Just because you don't see it typing doesn't mean it is not there. Once you hit enter, as long as it is the appropriate password, it will complete the command. How do we make sure it's there though? What we want to do is we want to do some type of list directory. So ls, that will list the contents of our user folder. You'll notice there will be bin, coursework, games, include, library, lib, local, nx, sbin, share, and source, src. So our coursework file is there. So what we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and navigate to our coursework, change directory, cd, coursework, go ahead and enter. That will navigate to our coursework folder. And then from there, we actually want to create 3 additional subfolders. So again, just like before, mkdir. First folder is faculty. Pay attention to the capitalization because it does matter. If you get a cannot create directory, permission is denied, we have to make sure that we're doing the correct command. I did not type the word sudo, so it never prompted us for our credentials. Sudo mkdir student workspace. Again, if you do not do the word sudo, it will not allow you to create the directories here. Next folder is lecture slides. Last one is Sue workspace. And let's go ahead and make sure all of them are there. Do another ls for list folders. Faculty notes. Pay attention to the capitalization. Lecture slides. Student workspace. Sue workspace. So once we verify those folders, we need to create one more folder, and that's going to be a folder for us specifically. Example that the text is using is Jesse Swift, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. JA. Again, pay attention to the capitalization. The spacing is very important, so make sure there's no spacing. And let's go and do another ls to make sure it has all 5 folders. Yes, it does. So what we're going to do is we're going to change some of the owners of these folders. How we do that is we're going to do a chown, short for change ownership. And how we do that is chown. Because we want to change owner, but we want to look at some of the additional options. So we're going to do help, more, again, pay attention to the spacing, because the spacing is very important. And here we can actually see change owner, the option, the owner groups, the additional switches. And what I did was I piped in the more command so that it won't just continue on. We actually have to hit enter to scroll through all of it. That way we can slowly go through all of this, look at some of the examples, and we are good to go for the next part. So what happens if we do not use the pipe more command? The pipe is shift and the key above enter, but if we don't do the pipe more, it just gives us it all in one big shot, and that can be a little overwhelming. We want to, now that we see the ownership, we want to see what permissions that are there. So we're going to go back to our ls command, except now we're going to pipe in some additional. Hyphen, we're going to do A for the details, and L for this directory. And that way we can see our folders and the permissions that they have. More specifically, it's going to be the file permission mode, the number of links, the user owner, the group owner, the file size in bytes. That's bytes. That's going to be the group owner. That's going to be the user owner. That's going to be the number of links. And that's going to be our permission modes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and change the owner of workspace to suj. So how we do that is we type sudo so that we can make sure we're going to get prompted if we need credentials. Change owner, chown, space, We want to change it to suj, and the directory we want is su workspace. Sudo change owner, the user, or the user we want the owner to be, and then the folder that we want the change to take place. Hit enter. We're going to do another ls, and we want to see the permissions again, so al. You'll notice that the user owner is now su, but the group owner is now still remaining as root. So we're going to do the same thing to our lecture slides folder. So instead of having to type out the command again, I'm just going to use the up arrow. We want to change this to, again, sudo change owner suj, and we're going to change that to, I believe, lecture slides, and that should be good. So now that we have the folders changed, what happens if we want to change some of the permissions? So let's go ahead and change the permission to su's workspace. Sudo change owner. We're going to change it to all other users. We're going to change it so that they have the ability to read and execute, and we're going to do that to su's workspace directory. It did not like our make sure it's an O, not a 0, because that's going to be for all other users. O, others. Okay, did not like that either. Hold on one second. Okay, so it does help if you read the instructions all the way. So we're going to be doing our sudo change, not ownership, but change modify lowercase o, because we want all other users. They're going to remove their permissions minus to read and execute. chmod, because we want to change and modify. Oh, you also have to tell it what folder you want to do. Su workspace. We're also going to then we're going to grant group members G read and execute as well. Su workspace. So what that will do is we are removing, minusing the ability to read and execute from specific groups. Just so that we all get it, chmod O. O stands for users who are neither the owner or members of the files group. Here it's going to be suj, or the group owner for root. The next command would be for our G. That is going to be users who are member of the files groups. We're going to removing minus R and X. R is read, X is execute. So once we are done with that, go ahead and enter. Let's do another ls-al so we can see all of the permissions. Su's workspace is no longer allowing read and execute. Here is Su's other folder, lecture slides. it is still allowing it. But with this one, we don't really want to allow people to execute things in the lecture slide. So we're going to do another sudo chmod. We're going to say all other users. We're going to remove the right to execute from the folder lecture slides. Make sure that you are spelling everything correct, because I did not. Lecture slides. And as long as you spelled things correctly, you should be good there. We also want to remove group access to it as well. G for group, we're minusing the ability to execute on lecture slides. Again, make sure you are spelling it correctly. And let's go ahead and verify we've done the correct permissions. ls-al. That way we can again see the correct permissions. So now lecture slides, they have the ability to read, nothing else, like they're supposed to. So last thing is, let's do some changing of groups. Everything is currently owned by root, and that may not be what we want. So how we do that is, we're going to be doing a chgrp, but before we start getting that far in, let's see what that structure is. chgrp help, and we're going to pipe in the more so we can see the usage for change group and all of the permissions. Again, pay attention to the capital or lowercase, because they do mean something. They were going to give us some examples. So once we are ready, we're going to go ahead and change the group ownership for faculty notes to faculty. So start off with sudo change group. What group do we want to change it to? Remember, our groups are lowercase. We want to change it to faculty. What folder do we want to change? Faculty notes. If it doesn't work, again, pay attention to the capitalization. Linux is not forgiving when it comes to spaces and capitalization. When you think that it is correct, go ahead and hit enter. As long as you don't get prompted, it took it. Now let's see if it actually accepted it. ls, again ls-al, so we can see the attributes. We change the group ownership to faculty for faculty notes, just like we wanted. We want to change one more group. So let's go ahead and change the student workspace to the student group. Sudo change group students, and we're changing student workspace. And again, let's verify that it is correct. Student workspace now belongs to the student group. So we have a few more things that we want to do, because for our student workspace, they still have all the correct permissions, and it's still owned by the root user. So let's go ahead and remove some read and execute commands for all other groups. So how we should do that is, again, sudo change modify others. We want to remove read execute to the student workspace. we also want to then add read, write, and execute to those owners, or to the specific group. Not to all others, but just to a group. So we're going to do sudo chmod group. Again, it's owned by students. That's the group. We're going to add the ability to read, write, and execute. As long as you belong to that group, you'll have those permissions within that folder. And that folder is, again, student workspace. That adds the group for that folder. We're giving them the read, write, and execute permission. So let's go ahead and double check that we did it correctly. ls al, so we can list our content. And here we go. Read, write, and execute for our student groups. Do another screenshot. We're going to do the same thing for faculty notes, except we're going to own that. We're going to change the ownership to faculty. So again, how we do that is, I'm going to do it in a little easier way. I'm just going to arrow up to where we typed it in before. Faculty notes. And again, arrow back up to our group. Faculty notes. This removes others. All ability. We're removing minus the read and execute to faculty notes. So what that allows us to do is then go in there and change the permissions so that the group faculty has the ability to add the permission to read, write, and execute. Once you verify that is the correct command, enter, and again, as long as it doesn't return any errors, we should be good. Let's go and again, another ls al, so we can verify that it did it correctly. And faculty notes, it did, so we are good to go. We can go ahead and exit out of here. I normally want to show people at least an additional command or two, so there's a lot of content on the screen. So if we type clear, it will clear the screen, keeping us in the same directory structure. We can also scroll up. The screen gets very busy and it's hard to start reading. So when we start doing our ls al commands, I like to just clear screen. That way I can just focus on the one output that I'm looking for. That way it's not cluttered. This is hard to learn in the first place, so by being able to clearly read what we're seeing makes it a lot easier. Well, thank you guys and have a great day.